It's time to take command with former NFL tight end Logan Paulsen and former Commanders beat reporter Craig Hoffman.
What's up? What's happening? Welcome in to Take Command. I'm Craig Hoffman. One last time, if you haven't heard, that's Logan Paulsen. And if you truly haven't heard, if you missed the Goodbye-a-Palooza on Wednesday on the radio, this will be my last episode of Take Command. I am taking a new opportunity with the Wizards and Mystics in their front office as the Senior Director of Basketball Identity and Integration, which, Logan, is a very fancy title. Every time I say it,
gaudy.
I chuckle. But I'm very excited about it. I talked about it in the Goodbye show. I think our podcast feed is still up. If not, it's on the internet on my YouTube page at Craig Hoffman if you want to hear a little bit more about it. And the full show from Wednesday is on demand at the Team 980 if you want to pop through that. And people said very nice things. It was very, very kind. If you were one of those people or you were listening along and sharing in those sentiments, thank you, genuinely. It was a really cool but a very emotional day. And I don't think I'm going to cry on this show, Logan, even though this is the thing. I mean, obviously working with Anthony, I'm going to miss tremendously, but doing this show and everything, I'm going to miss a lot. And we'll talk about that a little bit more at the end of the show. But you have roped me into one final football show as well. Plus, we got that new FanDuel sponsorship. I got to really make the billing department, make sure I get my share of that FanDuel sponsorship that we got now. So we are going to preview Cincinnati, talk a little about what has happened in the week, and then we'll share a few thoughts at the end as I say goodbye, and we'll set you up. Just in case you're like, wait, what is happening? Logan is going to continue to do the podcast. So the podcast is not going anywhere. I am going somewhere, even though I'm actually not physically going anywhere. I just won't be on the show anymore. But the podcast is continuing, so please continue to support it. I am going to be a loyal listener. I'm very excited to watch the Commanders as a fan and be a smarter fan because I get to listen to Logan. I'll probably still call you on occasion to be like, hey,
man.
Hey, what's going on? So we'll call it, we can call those phone calls. We can call it Fake Command.
Fake Command. That's exactly right. That'd be good. Yeah. So yeah, the show will be going on, and we're excited to do that. And obviously bummed that Craig's taken off, but it's a great opportunity. So excited for that and excited for the next chapter of your life, which is going to be super fun. So
thanks, dude. And we'll talk a little bit more about some favorite memories and stuff at the end. All right. With that, though, let's get down to business. The Commanders had a scrimmage this week, which was different than something they've done. Dan Quinn taking the opportunity with a little bit of extra time between preseason games to do a Burgundy and Gold scrimmage. That also is followed a couple days later by the news that with the scheduling and everything the way it is, some injuries, this, that, the other thing, they're canceling the joint practice with the Ravens. They're just going to do that preseason game. So with all the knowledge and kind of where we sit now, Logan, how important was that scrimmage and what did you ultimately take out of it?
Yeah, I think it was pretty good to have the scrimmage, obviously, because of the preseason game, right? Like the starters didn't really play. They didn't play at all. They didn't play at all. And so I think it was just a good opportunity to get them on the field and kind of emphasize some of the stuff that came out of the scrimmage. Like they had the refs out there. I felt like in the first couple of sequences, they were being really aggressive with penalty calls. Like there was one where they called Jeremy Tunsil for offsides, and I was like, if you got your microscope out, maybe that's a penalty, kind of how he's got that reputation for jumping out of there early. And I was like, that seems borderline, but it did feel like they were trying to make a point. Like, let's call this really tight. Let's make sure we're aware of our techniques and our positioning and our formations. I think that's appropriate, right? Because like everyone said, like coming out of that preseason game, like what are some ways you can coach that? And honestly, this is one of the best ways, in my opinion, to kind of get that stuff cleared up and clarified. So, and I also think it's good, like, it's day 10 or 11 when they had that of camp. Like, I hate to be the bearer of bad news for fans out there, but it gets a little bit monotonous. It gets a little bit tedious in camp. So I think this is a great way to kind of spice it up in between preseason games. You have like a long layover in between the New England one and the Cincinnati one. So why not take advantage of that? And it was cool to see the energy that the guys brought to practice, like how excited they were, kind of the like how they were kind of talking to each other, the noise they were spitting at each other. I thought was really interesting to see. And you see people's personalities a little bit more. You see guys working together that don't normally work together. Like that's always fun. That's a good thing. So I think all in all, like great way to kind of break up the monotony at camp and great way to emphasize some things that came out of the preseason game. So I think that's why it's important to have this. And Dan didn't do this because of the preseason game. He had it on the schedule before, but I think it's a great opportunity just to kind of emphasize some things at this point in camp.
For sure. And the two things that I think in the before and the after that I was thinking about when I talked about it earlier in the week on the radio was one, there was that lack of intensity and like lack of signature Commander style that Dan talked about after the preseason game. And I think there was a couple players that seemed to take it upon themselves to make sure that was there from what I saw reported in the practice. Mike Sanders still coming to mind at the absolute top of mind. Like I know he popped Luke McCaffrey pretty good. Noah Igbenogany, who we talked about like the signature Noah. Like there's going to be some plays where you're like but he's never going to lack in effort, never going to lack in intensity. I know there was a little bit of a scuffle after he hit C-Rod on the sideline pretty good. So like the guys who embody that seem to make sure to take it upon themselves to have that and be like, no. What you guys did, whether we played or not, whether the we here, like guys like Noah played, but Mikey obviously did. Mikey play at all? I don't think he played. Maybe he played a little bit. He didn't. Yeah, preseason. So no, he didn't. So like he's like, this is what it means to play when you put on the uniform, and I thought that was kind of cool. And then on the refereeing point, Dan said in the press conference which was before the scrimmage, like he mentioned the referees. And so now hearing you talk about how tightly it was called makes all the sense in the world. That seemed to be a very intentional thing from Dan Quinn, which is not surprising at all from Dan Quinn.
Yeah, because he's an intentional guy, right? So you're not going to just have referees out there and not try to drive a point home. And I think he did a great job of that. I think the other thing too, you mentioned like the Commanders' energy. I thought it was also cool that they gave coaches different opportunities and different roles, and I think that's really cool. And I think it's also cool to see. To me, it was just like a really cool opportunity to see how important game script is and game flow is. Because like when you just call in plays in practice, like you're literally kind of stepping back and objectively saying, is this work versus the look we presented? Yes or no? Like, how do we make it better? Like, can we get this guy spacing a little bit or the timing of the motion a little bit better? But when you're calling plays, you got to like stack plays. And so, the Burgundy team, for example, I thought they were like hyper aggressive, like wanting to throw the ball early. Obviously, I would abide by the same principle because Jane Daniels is the quarterback of the Burgundy team, right? But like understanding what the defense is giving you and then understanding how like when you get behind the sticks after a penalty, like what the defense is going to present. I thought it was like just a really cool, just reminder of like calling games is different than practice execution. And I think for some of those young coaches, it's just a good reminder. Like these are things you got to be thinking about. Like on first down, like we don't have to throw the ball all the time. Like we can run the football. This isn't team pass. This is a full thing. And I thought Brian Johnson for the gold team, even though they're wearing white jerseys, did a really good job of like, he's called plays before, like did a really good job of understanding the flow of the game. Like, hey, there was a turnover on downs because Cliff went for a 4th and 5, right? He was the head coach for the Burgundy team. I don't need to go crazy because we're in field goal range already. So we're going to run, we're going to have a quick screen, and we're kind of going to methodically plot our way down the field. And eventually they're able to put it in for a touchdown. But I just thought the feel for kind of the game was a little bit more dramatic for a guy who's called plays before, and I think like that is something like, did I come out of that being like, oh my gosh, that's so cool to see. And that's such a good reminder.
Yeah, for sure. NBA guy here. This is something that you get in NBA Summer League, and there's not an opportunity to really do it in the NFL like that. So
is
like,
that what they do in Summer League? They
so if I think the rules are still this way. If you're a first-time head coach, I think you're allowed to coach your Summer League team. But other than that, it's assistant coaches. So ironically, to bring it back to the football of it all, did you play against JJ Outlaw when he was with the Eagles?
No.
Okay. He played wide receiver in the league for a little bit. He is now an assistant with us at the Wizards. And yes, it is still, I'm going to get used to saying us, but I guess I don't start till Monday. He's an assistant with the Wizards, right? And he was our Summer League head coach this year. And so you get a chance for guys to move up the bench, if you will. And the NFL just doesn't have anything like that, where you kind of just get a new job eventually, you get promoted and you're expected to do it. And so I think that from like a coach development standpoint, that's a really cool thing that Dan provided as an opportunity. But I think the other thing that matters in the short term is like now if you are Brian Johnson, and Brian had it a little bit more, but Tavita was calling plays on the other side, right?
I think so,
Yeah, so if you're Tavita and you've never really called plays before and you're advising Cliff in the middle of a game, like now you have a little bit of experience to lean on, and it gives you a more global view of like the jobs around you. And it's very easy when you get promoted up to know what it was like on one rung or two rungs below you on the ladder. This is a chance to see what it's like from one rung up. And I think that's like a really cool thing that obviously long-term helps in a coach's development, but also probably helps them in the short term as well.
Yeah, and I also think it like helps Cliff, like, because one of the things is like I coach offensive football at the high school level, and one of the things as an offensive coach is you want to score every drive, and like
Right.
that's what makes Cliff good at being an OC. He wants to score every drive. But one of the things I love is like that conversation he had with Dan last year, where it's like, hey, we got to think about like team, like when we're calling a game offensively, we got to think about the team, like what we're doing for the defense, how we're helping them, and honestly, that conversation that they had helped me coach better in high school because it's like, you're right. I don't need to go out here and I don't need to put the pedal all the way to the metal every single time I call a play. It's like there's a yin and yang here, and I need to support the defense with my play call. And so I thought it was interesting that Cliff was hyper aggressive on fourth down, like crazy. Like they went for a 4th and 10, they went for a 4th and 15. Like they just were, like kind of what you would expect from Cliff. But I think that's also a good reminder, like even for the most hyper aggressive offensive coaches, like it's okay to punt. You know what I mean? It's okay to punt. And I think like obviously this is a scrimmage. Like Cliff might be doing a bit. It wouldn't surprise me at all if he was. But like I think that's just a good, to your point of like, this is the things that head coaches think about. They have to think about these things because it's not offense, it's not defense, it's not special teams. It's all three of those things in aggregate. And I thought it was a really cool opportunity for like Joe Witt Jr. and Cliff Kingsbury to be in those roles and kind of have to make some of those decisions. And I, as a fan of football, I enjoy seeing the ripples of those decisions and how it allows the like when you go for a 4th and 10, how it allows the opposing offense to call a game, how it allows the defense to be aggressive the next time you come out because now they're protecting a lead, right? Like it's a cool reminder of how the interplay of some of that football stuff.
For sure. All right, before we get into some Cincinnati, to quote Bill Belichick, we're on to Cincinnati. Before we get to the Bengals preseason game, anything else from practice this week or that scrimmage that you wanted to shout out?
Yeah, just like I think the scrimmage was so much fun to watch, like because the energy and stuff. And then obviously they had like a walkthrough. What is today? Today's Friday, so they had a walkthrough on Thursday. They had a true practice today, and they are kind of shifting more towards like an in-season practice schedule. And for those fans who aren't aware of this, like you're going to get like probably 2 periods of good on good. So first defense, first offense, and it'll be red zone or third down or whatever it is, something that's kind of not a lot of running involved, not a lot of run plays involved because you don't want them banging up on each other too much, but like high intensity, highly competitive situations. And then you transition to carded periods where you're kind of previewing what, you're expecting to see from Cincinnati on offense, defense. And again, Cincinnati's ones only ran 16 plays. Their defense only ran, I forget what it was, like 25 plays. So there's not a lot to draw from the preseason, but you're probably going back and looking at some stuff from last year just because you want the guys to feel ready and prepared for the thing. So I think that's kind of cool to see them kind of entering a game week, letting guys kind of start their routines and getting ready for the Monday night game against Cincinnati.
Yeah, the other change that I know they've been trying to implement is they're trying to now move the practice schedule back to the afternoon, which is how it is during the season. The problem is it's so damn hot out that they're like, actually, let's do the morning. Which I also wonder, like, when you get later in the regular season, it'll cool off. But I wonder in the first few weeks of the regular season if they would do that as well. If there's like a heat wave rolling through in September in DC, who would ever have thought of that? That they would continue to do that because the players, I think, like it. The earlier schedule. I don't know if you had feelings on that when you were a player. Like, would you rather just get practice done, or would you rather have some meetings in the morning, then be like, okay, now we go out and work on the things, then have your more meetings in the afternoon?
I think I always preferred the practice in the afternoon, not because I like practicing in the heat, but because we got walkthrough ahead of time. So you kind of could like get your mental reps, get kind of the cognitive processes going. Sometimes when we practice in the morning, especially down in Richmond in like 13 and 14, I felt like you just like got off the bus. Like you woke up, you got off the bus and you were like practicing and you were kind of like remembering the install from the night before. And it wasn't quite as fresh. You didn't have quite as many reps with it. And I remember having conversations with Sean McVay when he was the OC, and he's like, I think that really hurts our offensive efficiency in practice. And I think that's something to be aware of. Like, again, like I didn't like the temperature. I didn't like the weather. I hated practicing. I hated it more than anything in my career, practicing in the heat. But I did find it to be helpful to have a little bit more time with the material heading into practice.
Yeah, well, especially that Richmond heat. Ooh, buddy, that was not a good time when I was on the beat back in the day. All right, when we get back, we will do a Cincinnati preview, what to expect in Monday Night Football against the Bengals, and then we'll wrap things up on the show and for me, period. Here on Tape. Cincinnati Bengals, Washington Commanders, Monday Night Football. Brings back good memories instantly from last year in Cincinnati, kind of Jaden's coming out party there on Monday Night Football. This one's here in the DMV, out in Landover at Northwest Stadium on Monday night. Second preseason game, Logan, we're expecting to see the starters. And so outside of like the who that we're going to see, what are you looking for on Monday night?
Well, I wasn't able to go to the joint practice up in New England. So like my thing is like, does the defense, like they're playing this like hyper aggressive, like in Joe Wood Jr.'s words, like downhill style. They're blitzing a lot. They're being like getting in people's faces. Like, can you do that versus the best receiving duo in the NFL and one of the better quarterbacks? Like, it was crazy. I was watching Joe Burrow 16 plays from preseason, and I was like, this dude's a magician. Like he is so good at football. Like there was a play, and it's like just like a 2nd and 5, right? And they're running like a big out. Jamar Chase is running a big out. The left guard gets beaten like immediately, like quick win, like hands down. The defensive tackle's got the guy's outside shoulder. He's running at the quarterback. Joe Burrow gets the top of his drop and just like cool as a cucumber throws this ball. Joe, like he's not even started his break. Like they're talking about, like he's throwing it before he's out of his break. Like Jamar Chase has not even started breaking down yet. The ball is out. He catches the football. And I was like, that should have been a sack, maybe a sack fumble with how quickly that guard lost. And it doesn't even register because of how good he is, right? His ability to navigate the pocket, make those throws. And so you want to be aggressive, right? But can you be aggressive with these receivers? Jamar Chase, who's excellent against man-to-man coverage. T. Higgins, who's also excellent against man-to-man coverage. You've got their slot receiver, the kid from Princeton, who
Shavas.
Again, who's a bigger guy. How does Mike Sanders still match up with him? And you've got a good pass-catching tight end. So, like, they're going to stress you offensively. Like, what's the plan from Joe Wood Jr.? Are we going to pressure? Are we going to be softer in coverage? Like, because again, I think you could take advantage of that O-line, but can you actually get production off the offensive line is a question to me, because like watching those 16 plays, I was like, damn, like he does it in a way that is so uniquely him, right? He does it in a way like it kind of harkens back to like the Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, these guys that were so athletic in the pocket, like, and they can just maximize all these throws with timing and anticipation. And like now you get like Lamar and Josh Allen and, Jaden Daniels to a certain extent, Patrick Mahomes, who are just like these crazy athletes back there. And then Joe Burrow's a little bit of a throwback. And I'm like, I don't know if you want to blitz him. I think he's going to know what to do. I think he's going to be able to target the protections. And so I think this is a really awesome test because like, in the Burgundy and Gold scrimmage that we had, the defense looked awesome. Yeah. Pressed up, choking guys out, bringing pressure. We're winning one-on-ones at the line of scrimmage. Like Kinlaw, man, like looks like an absolute horse when he's out there. Like he had this pass rush move on the guard where the guard punches two hands. He does an up swipe. The guard, I've never seen a up swipe actually work because no one's strong enough to do it. He gets the hands up and then beats the corner. And I was just like, if we can get some of that going, this is going to be awesome. But can you handle that with Joe Burrow back there?
So here would be my question. If that's how you want to play, and Burrow might be the only guy in the league who you can't do that against. I mean, Mahomes is also a supercomputer, and so you'll have him. I think it's like week 7 or week 8.
Even Lamar, like even the guys we just mentioned, those top 4 guys, like Lamar, Mahomes, like Burrow, Allen.
But Burrow, even amongst them at the line of scrimmage, like he might be the best of that bunch. Like the rest of them are like 9.8s, and he's a 10. Yeah. Right. So, but like point being, against a lot of teams, you can play that way. And even against like the Chiefs, right? Mahomes might know what's coming, but I don't know if he has the horsepower on the outside, or Baltimore, even if Zay Flowers is banged up. Like, do they have the horsepower on the outside versus Higgins and Chase? So if you're Joe, do you just run your defense and hope for the best and see what happens? Or do you game plan a little bit and be like, hey guys, do you just know if we do the things that we normally would want to do that we would never do if there was the regular season against this team, we're going to die. So there's no purpose in practicing dying, or do you see what happens? Like I could see it both ways. Yeah. Do you have any strong thoughts on which way he goes?
You know what? Like I kind of want him to throw it. Like if that's your fastball, like throw it. Like, that old, he was the Dodgers pitcher versus Barry Bonds. They had a bet. Have you heard this thing? So like I was a Dodgers fan when I was younger. And so basically this guy was the best closer in the league. He'd come out there and he would just throw absolute heat, like 101, 102 miles an hour. And he had a bet with Barry Bonds. He's like, next time I'm up, if you guys are winning by like a score in the bottom of the 9th and I'm up, I just want you to, and you think and the guy was like, I can get you out just throwing a fastball. And so he did it. Like, it was just like, and Barry Bonds hit a home run. But I want to see that. I want to see you throw your fastball. If this is who you want to be, let's throw it. I know this is a dangerous player, Barry Bonds, Joe Burrow in this example,
Right.
but like, I want to see how close we. Eric Gagne, there we go, Evan. That's why you get
There we go. Eric Gagne back in the day. I remember Eric Gagne. I was trying to think. Yeah, that dude was nuts. That dude would do that with Barry Bonds. That dude was nuts. Like compliment.
Loved
I think.
And yeah,
now I'm going to Google Eric Gagne and be horrified.
But anyway, I want to see that. Like, and so part of me is like, can Trey Amos match up? Like, let's see it. Like, you always talk about the staff talks about evaluation competition. Like, let's do it, man. Let's see it. And this is not how we're going to do it in the regular season. I get that. We're going to game plan. We're going to be locked in X's and O's, the whole thing, scheming stuff up. But I want to see that. I want to see an at bat where it's fastballs, home run hitter, and who blinks first. And that'd be talk about drama in a preseason game. Like, that would be drama in a preseason game.
And if they hit a home run, who cares? It's preseason. It's like, okay, well, we tried. Now we know next time we might sneak a curveball in there if we're facing old Joey B and Jamar Chase and T Higgins. Elsewhere on defense, I mean, obviously the other thing is the run defense. Cincinnati's not the world's greatest running team traditionally, and their back situation is not like amazing. So I'm definitely curious to see if the run defense can hold in a big game. Obviously, the Patriots got a couple of gash carries against Washington, as you mentioned on the film review show, that some of that was kind of game planned up. So I don't know that Cincinnati's going to do that. If they do, like, okay. But, also, can you adjust? I also think from like a playtime standpoint, Burrow and them are probably going to play 2-3 series, maybe a quarter. Like, I kind of hope that as long as Burrow's in, the one defense is in for Washington, let them get those reps. But I'm curious to see how long they go as well before it's, some of the other guys that are super intriguing and maybe we're talking about defensively, but obviously the guys that are going to matter the most in the regular season, hopefully are going to be starting this one.
Yeah, no, I think that I mean, that's what I want. Like, I just want to see them because they've been the story of training camp, right? The defensive backs, like Harris, Quan, Mike Sanderstill, all those, like, they've been the story. So like, if they can be that good versus this group with a couple days of prep, we talked about how they start doing cards, like, I want to see it, and I want to see how good they look. And if Kinlaw looks as advertised, and Payne looks like he's in the shape he is, and Armstrong, the way he's been rushing on third down has been amazing. So let's see it, man. And again, like, to me, that is, I get excited for preseason games generally, like, because I think it's fun to watch the back half of the roster guys. I don't think I've ever been this excited for a preseason game to watch our defense against this. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, you want like a bar, like, this is it. Let's see it. And you mentioned the running games, like, they had some gashes against Philadelphia. Obviously, Philadelphia's backups in the first preseason game, Cincinnati. But they got Chase Brown, who's kind of a home run hitter. They've got some good size in the backfield. I want to see it. Like, it's a good test. Good offensive test, good defensive test. Let's check it out. So yeah,
for sure. And then obviously we'll see what the depth pieces can do. And some of those guys, like, what's Javonte Jean-Baptiste? I'm putting you on the spot here, but is he back in practice yet?
I don't think so. Not yet. They are a little bit banged up. Like, Laramie Tunsil missed the walkthrough yesterday. He's got some groin. Like, so it'll be interesting to see. Like, Brandon Coleman hasn't practiced for a couple of days.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see who's there and like who's available. But in terms of back half of the roster guys that I'm watching, it's definitely kind of the backup safeties, the Tyler Owens, the Reeves, like, because they're going to play well. And Reeves is kind of, I don't even know if you can put him in that group anymore because he's kind of matriculated his way into that first defense as the big nickel guy, which is much deserved. He's been playing great. But Kane Medrano, like, I thought we talked about how he came out of that first preseason game. Johnny Newton, can he kind of get in the rotation there with that first group and be productive against the starting offensive line for Cincinnati? So there's lots of pieces to be excited about, no doubt, especially in the back half. But to me, the story this week is that first group against the good on good, basically.
Yeah, for sure. And then obviously some of the newer guys that have come in, they've signed a couple of guys this week. Is, how do they play? Does the defense look a little more solid? With not quite as much youth out there. I'm thinking of like, Duke Riley playing instead of Dom Hampton at the mic, for instance.
I was just saying, like, they did like a special teams drill today, and we talked about how, like, in this kickoff coverage team, the 4 penetrates, the 5 plays off.
Yeah.
And it was like Nick Ballore and Duke working that drill today. And I mean, it looks like butter. You know what I'm saying? Like, it almost looks like they've done it 1,000 times because they probably have, because they're special teams guys,
just
right?
Not together, but now it already looks like they have together.
Yeah. And so I think that's going to be much improved. And that's what they are talking about. They want to get a little bit more experience at the linebacker spot. And it's for stuff like that. And it's for stuff like in that later in the game where Duke Riley, he's played a lot of defense, right? I think this is year 7 or 8 for him. Like, Let him get out there. Let him call it. Let Kane be the will. Let him do his thing. Think less. Play fast. I think it's going to help everybody out.
For sure. Offensively, I just don't know what to do. Like, I don't know what to make. I don't know how much you play the guys because, obviously barring something, I would say not barring something changing. Terry could sign. He's not going to play on Monday at this point. It's too late in the week. But without Terry, Noah Brown feels like he's probably still not playing. I don't know if he participated in the walkthrough yesterday, but he's barely practiced. Laramie's banged up. You're not going to take the risk there. Coleman's banged up. So you're like, your 1.5 offensive line, or actually really you're down to 2 starters. You're down to Connerly and Biotish, if Connerly's even a starter. But now he kind of has to be because Wiley, you need him to play guard, or maybe even left tackle. So like you're super banged up there. You don't have your top receivers outside of Debo. So it's hard. Like at that point, the risk reward, calculation is a little bit different. Like, is it even worth putting Jaden Daniels out there for any extended period of time when these are hopefully not the guys he's going to play with in the regular season? Or do you look at it as like, well, outside of Terry, all these are injuries. Maybe this is what we have in the regular season. Like you got to line up. They don't move the game because you're hurt. You got to line up and play on Sunday. So, or in this case, Monday night. So the offensive side of the equation is complicated in immense ways.
Yeah, no, I think that's 100% right. And I think Tunsil will play because he didn't practice yesterday, but he practiced today. So I'm assuming that's like a positive. I don't know. We'll see what happens, but I'm sure that's a positive. I'm assuming that's a positive trend. Connerly looked pretty good at right tackle today. And then you got Wiley and Allegretti, who are experienced players next to Biotish. So I think that feels I'd be okay putting him out there, basically, is what I'm saying. And obviously you prefer Coleman if he was healthy to be ready, and then Allegretti to be the swing guard center piece. But we got to deal with what we got to deal with. And so I think I'm actually excited to watch this, because one of the big storylines has been how good the defense has been. And, we've talked about how Cliff hasn't really game planned and hasn't really prepped. And, like the defense is putting all this pressure. Like, how does this look it's not a full game plan, but how does it look when we've prepped something? We've given, Jane Daniels the opportunity to kind of put the stuff in the CPU against the Cincinnati defense that didn't look great against Philadelphia's backups. I mean, they gave up a lot of points, like a lot of yards, actually. Yeah. So can you maximize that? And I still come back to this, man. I think the tight ends, John Bates, Zach Ertz, Yankoff, and Ben Sinnott have all looked pretty good. And I think that room's looking good. I think the backs have looked good. And I'm curious to see if there's a receiver that can step up. Like Jalen Lane in the Burgundy and Gold Scrimmage had a really nice vertical route where he beats the coverage and is down the field. Like, can we see some of that? Like, can we see him start to come alive a little bit? And can one of these receivers kind of start making some plays? And we've talked about that for a couple of days, but like Tay Martin today had a couple nice plays, and he's a guy that's way down the depth chart. So I'm just waiting for somebody to kind of be like, hey man, like I want to make the 53. I want to make some plays here. And what can Cliff do from a schematic standpoint? How does he call the game? Like I mentioned that in the Burgundy and Gold Scrimmage, like how interesting I thought that was. Like, what does this look like in this game where it's like, it's going to feel pretty real for the first probably quarter, at least maybe half. And like, how does he call it? Like, what are we emphasizing? How does the offense change? Not having Terry, not having Noah. And I think that's something that I have a lot of respect for Cliff's ingenuity. I have a lot of respect for this offensive staff. Like, what is the solution to the problem? And that's something I think is going to be really interesting to see.
Yeah, I'm fascinated. I mean, obviously on the personnel side, like the receivers, it's the question of camp in a lot of ways. And it's because it's the dual layered question of like, how good are these young guys, but also like, how much leverage, if you will, does Terry have, or however you want to phrase that, of just like how in trouble is the team if he's not out there because of the contract situation. And so I'm definitely intrigued to see what can happen on Monday night. There's also a chance that, if they're only going to play like a series or two, and it's really more about getting out there, getting the helmet on, being in the huddle, calling some plays, like, do you do what they did with Mahomes, where they just like, he threw one pass, right. And so it's just like, let's just run the football a ton with the first team offensive line, and not really worry about the receiver question for right now. I could see that as an option, but I tend to think that they're probably just going to go out there, run some stuff, try to feel good about their offense, and then they shut it down, presumably for the rest of the preseason outside of practice. I don't think they're going to play against Baltimore. Maybe I think there's probably a slightly elevated chance that they do because there's no longer the joint practice. Yeah. But traditionally, teams have shut it down since the move to 3 preseason games. They've treated that one like the 4th, where it's about the back end of the roster getting opportunities, not necessarily the first guys getting ready. So gonna be fun. Monday night. I guess Logan, you're in charge of the schedule of the review show, so you'll have to.
I'm not in charge yet. We haven't figured out who's going to do the show yet. Hopefully soon, in the next 24 hours, we'll have something, and then we'll try to do something on Tuesday. We'll see. So
yeah,
fingers crossed. But
yeah, I would imagine there's a show on Tuesday with someone, Logan, and then someone else will be in this square, or maybe Logan. What if you took over my side of the screen?
That would be a pretty big deal. We'd have to talk to Evan about that. That's where he gets paid the big bucks. Which side of the screen are you on? So
so we'll have that. So there will be a Take Command review show very early next week after the game, which would mean probably Tuesday. It'll be Logan and friend or friends. So look forward to that. As for my time on Take Command, we wrap it up. Wrapping up here on Take Command, literally for me, this has been, Logan, just one of the most rewarding things that I've ever done professionally. And getting the chance to work with you, I think I talked about this a little bit as some callers were calling in the other day and talking about it and how much they love the show and asking about it. And so now I get to say nice things to you to your face. But like, as I enter the pro sports world as an executive now, to the extent that I'm an executive as a person in a front office, like I think I understand what it takes to be a professional in pro sports so much more from doing the show and getting to know you. And some of that is very specific to you. You had to dot every I and cross every T to play 10 years in the NFL. And learning what that experience was like for you has shaped the way I think about what it means to be a professional athlete and what needs to happen for professional athletes to succeed. So even though this was a football podcast and like I learned so much about the X's and O's of football and the schematics and the way things are done in the NFL from my time on the beat and then doing the show, like the thing that I personally take from this show, besides like the fun times that we had and the stories we can tell, is what it truly takes to be a pro in pro sports. And for that, I am forever grateful. And hopefully it will also help us with the Wizards and the Mystics be a lot more successful, whatever role I have and whatever impact I can have moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, this was very nice of you to say, Craig. And this show was really, honestly, like a really good growing experience for me. I'm like learning from you about the processes of being on the radio and researching and developing that skill set. Like, you really kind of fostered a lot of my growth in this show, like a lot of reps, a lot of conversations off air about, hey, try this, do this. And so, I've experienced a little bit of success over the last year or two, and I credit a lot of that to you because of your ability to teach and lead by example. So this show is, it means a lot to me because I feel like, you're a really good friend, and we had time to talk about ball every week scheduled on the calendar.
Yeah.
And so I'm disappointed that it's not going to be you in the box anymore, but I'm really excited for your opportunity and the next phase of your life. And that's what life's about, is like growing up and maturing and finding new things. So thanks for all that you've taught me, and thanks for your time. And I'm sure the fans appreciate it as well. And good luck with your next deal, big guy. And hopefully we'll talk more ball when the schedule permits.
Yeah, no, absolutely we will. I really appreciate that. And one thing that I always kind of chuckle at in the broadcast space is often you'd think like the former players would be the hardest to work with because they're like, oh, I know everything. Like, who are you to tell me anything? And often it's actually the reverse. Like, former players are used to being coached and want to be coached. And so on the broadcast side of it, if you would often call me and be like, hey, what'd you think of the show? And I'd be like, I think we did a good job here. I think maybe that could have been a little tighter. And you'd be like, yep, okay, got it. Or like, I agree. And like the I agrees and like your ability to self-evaluate, I feel like grew over the years, which just shows what kind of student that you were. And I'm thrilled to see and like, I think it was also fun for us too, like the way the show evolved. And we started doing, there was like kind of a pre-Take Command, like we did that training camp thing a couple years ago. And then Take Command launched. We were one of the first 10 podcasts in the entire network of our like Odyssey Sports network that now has probably like 100 podcasts or something like that. I don't know how many we have. It's a lot. And it, we used to have like meetings, and it was, I like the way you can judge growth now in 2025 is like how many boxes are in the Zoom. and we went from like having these meetings where it was like me, Logan, and our guy Danny Fressinger, who's like now not even in the meetings because he's high enough up in the corporate structure and there's enough people underneath him. He's like, I don't got to be in that meeting, but there's like 7 other people in the Zoom.
Right.
Our producers have been amazing, going back to our guy, Matty Essig, starting off, and then Nick Berlansky, William Foshi, and then now Evan has been a dream to work with these last couple of months. I'm not forgetting anybody, am I? Those are all our producers.
Oh yeah, those are
okay.
I think.
I hope so. If guy out there, if I forgot you, I'm so sorry. But it's been really cool to see like how the show has grown. And then, also got to like genuinely, I probably should have done this on the radio show too, but this will get to the Commanders specific people. Like thanks to the Commanders, and like Sean DeBarbieri and his staff, Charlie and Sam and JC for their help on the radio side of like getting interviews and stuff over the years, but also like letting us do the show post game from the stadium.
Yeah.
Like they didn't have to do that. And it made our lives so much easier. It was a tremendous opportunity for the show. And it also obviously provided the greatest moment in show history when I was able to troll Bear fans right after the Hail Mary, which was brought up many, many times this week as people like relived their favorite memories. I literally had people like in the YouTube chat Wednesday being like, who's going to troll Bears fans? I'm like, I don't know, but I'm sure you guys will figure it out.
Yeah,
Group project, do it all together. So I thanks to them. And obviously thanks so much to all of you. The mailbag questions, I looked like off-season podcasting can be a bore. It can be a huge labor. And I really looked forward to the mailbag episodes because they were so much fun to do. And so the interaction, the comments that you guys left, just everything that the audience contributed to the show, that people from outside, guys like John Keim, who came on regularly, Mina, who you came on in the offseason the past couple of years, Robert Mays, like on down the list of guests that we had. Just can't say thanks enough, and super appreciative of all the guys that came on, guys and gals that came on and provided their expertise over the years, and those stories and those memories and those friendships, those relationships. I was talking, Trevor Sycamore texted me the other day. He was like, super happy for you, super pumped. And I'm like, I really hope this didn't wind up happening. But I was like, I really hope that we are headed to Indy on Combine Week, because I will absolutely be making sure that I'm on that road trip with the Wizards so that I can secretly still sneak into the Combine in some way. Just so much stuff, dude. The memories just start, as you start to remember the stuff, just start flooding back.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's been a good run, man. And now a new chapter. So always exciting.
Yeah.
New chapters are sometimes they're tough, but it sounds like it's going to be a pretty exciting opportunity, and hopefully exciting opportunity for the show too. So we'll see.
Yeah, definitely. We don't know exactly the future of the show yet, but there are some very cool ideas being thrown around. I will put it this way. I'm very excited to become a listener and, just get to hear the ball knowledge get dropped from Logan and some of the people, whichever option it winds up being, some of the people that are in consideration for the show. It's going to be great. So with that, tremendous gratitude from me. Thank you all so much for listening. Logan, I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, sounds good, man.
My boy now, it's been great. Like the friendships that I've developed in this business are amazing, and thankfully they won't be going anywhere. So for one last time, I'm Craig Hoffman. Thanks for watching and listening to Take Command. Logan will be back with a review show and some new friends on Tuesday. And for me, that's it and that's all. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Take care.